Spin to win rogue. That's the build. That's so good. Maybe death trap for grouping. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Death trap might fill the last slot. But as you can see, we're having almost no issues, right? Like, even when there's elites, they die pretty damn fast. We just have to make sure to use smoke grenade often and hold our channel as long as it's off cooldown. Once the cooldown is off from smoke grenade, we can let go if we need to. Okay, let's test it on the boss. So smoke grenade for sure. And then there we go. And our damage is good. There it is. It's official. Our build strong. Okay, so you cannot... Oh, it's the Butcher! Okay, let's make him vulnerable. Shadow Step. And light work. First ever Butcher, and it's like nothing. Nice. We got us a Dance of Knives, aka Dizzy Rogue, as I've been calling it on stream, aka Spin to Win Rogue build guide. And this is still a work in progress. We are barely level 41 after all, but I just want to talk about some things we've been cooking up with our stream over here. So, first things first, Dance of Knives scales with damage on your weapons, on your daggers, or your swords. And we want to use swords preferentially because we want to scale crit strike damage, and we want to get as much crit strike chance as possible. Let's go through the abilities real quick. So we're only taking 2 points in basic skills because we're not using basic skills at all. We're just going to come down here. No core skills at all. The only thing we want to take here is crit strike chance and get that increased with our cutthroat skills, which is Dance of Knives. And then we're taking Stutter Step, which is going to give us movement speed. And why is movement speed important? Let's look at Dance of Knives. Dance of Knives throws daggers, and you consume 1 charge every second, and you have a total of 6 charges. But when we take Enhanced Dance of Knives, every 30 meters you travel while you're channeling will grant 4 charges. So what does that mean? That means the more movement speed you have, the more you're going to sustain the spin to win. So movement speed actually is the key. And then we also take Disciplined Dance of Knives here. And then we slow enemies. And slowing is important because it counts as crowd control. And we're going to get crowd control scaling. We want to take as many points into Dance of Knives as possible. And let's look at the gear. I took Dash and Shadow Step just to have double movement, rogue things. We haven't taken any passives here yet, but we're probably going to go into Weapon Mastery. Probably go into Trick Attacks as well. Dazing enemies increases our crit strike chance and damage even more. Where are we dazing from? We're dazing from Smoke Grenade. Smoke Grenade is going to daze enemies, especially with bosses. This is going to help a lot. And we just got this point right here. Enemies hit by Smoke Grenade take 25% multiplicative increased damage. So the damage is insane right now, as you saw in the Nightmare Dungeons I ran earlier. We're taking Exploit and Malice, of course. Dark Shroud, we're just full points into it. We get additional movement speed for every Dark Shroud shadow that we have, which also scales the sustain on Dance of Knives, which is great. And we're getting crit chance from this point. So as you can see, movement speed, crit chance, they're all working synergistically together. In addition with dazing from the Smoke Grenade, just do lots of damage and spam the ability, which is awesome. The imbuement we're using here, we do want to take the Precision Imbuement passive here, get even more crit strike chance, which we need to scale our damage, and so we can benefit from Stutter Step some more, getting more movement speed. We want to keep critting, And we're taking cold imbuement because we're going to chill. And when we get to mixed cold imbuement, most specifically, we're getting 20% multiplicative damage to crowd-controlled enemies. And remember, Dance of Knives is slowing every time it throws a dagger. So we're just getting 20% X increased damage, which is awesome. Of course, we're taking Frigid Finesse. It gives us even more damage when we're chilling enemies. And cool thing about cold imbuement, if I cast cold imbuement and I spam Dance of Knives, it consumes one charge, but every single knife, so long as I'm spinning while holding this ability, every single knife is cold imbued. So it's not like I cold imbue and it's only the first knife and then everything else is regular. No, as long as I'm holding the channel on Dance of Knives, every single one is cold imbued, making this insane. The amount of damage we get from Frigid Finesse and this mixed cold imbuement is insane. Of course, the crit here, we already talked about that. And then coming down here, we took 1 point in Adrenaline Rush just to get here to haste, while at or above 50% maximum energy, gain 15% increased movement speed. Again, movement speed is super crucial, and we only took this point to get this, and we're always going to be full on energy because this is not a core skill. It doesn't require any energy at all. So that's the skills, and the final point, we're using Momentum as our key passive. So when we're channeling a cutthroat skill, which Dance of Knives is, we get a stack of momentum. And the momentum stacks only get consumed when you use a marksman skill, and we're not using that on our abilities at all. We're not using puncture, even though we took the 2 points in it. We're not using it at all. So we're going to be at 10 stacks very often, almost all the time, actually. So that's the build so far. It's not complete. We still have levels to go. We still have skill points to earn. But already I'm doing insane damage. Let's look at the aspects real quick. On my helm, I'm using the cheats aspect, and the reason why is because we're taking less damage, aka damage reduction, from crowd-controlled enemies. And guess what? Dance of Knives slows every single enemy, meaning every enemy's crowd-controlled. So it's basically 23% damage reduction permanently, and whenever a crowd-controlled enemy deals direct damage to you, 15% movement speed. Again, the same synergy is going on. Then we have Umbrous Aspect. That way we don't have to use Dark Shroud on our bar, and we just always get them up. And this scales with critical strike chance, which we're trying to crit as often as possible. We're using a Fists of Fate right now. Fists of Fate is definitely not the ideal gloves in this build. We're not benefiting from lucky hit chance at all. The chance to CC is pretty good. But again, we're CCing guaranteed with Dance of Knives anyway, so we don't want this. We're just using it temporarily. Ideally, we'd get gloves that have crit strike chance, dexterity, and maybe crit strike damage. And the ranks to Dance of Knives, we're actually going to get on our boots. So we need to find boots with movement speed, probably dexterity or life, and ranks to Dance of Knives if that's available. I'm not sure if it's available yet. We can't enchant that at the occultist anyway. So we'll have to find it. On the points, we're using Disobedience right now just to get as much armor as we can to be more tanky. The boots, double movement speed with the movement speed temper, and we're using Ghostwalker. While unstoppable for 4 seconds after, you gain 25% increased movement speed. Where are we getting unstoppable from? We're using this aspect on our ring right here. While at maximum stacks of the momentum key passive, which we just looked at, and we're going to be at maximum stacks very often as long as we're spinning. Your cutthroat skills deal increased damage, which our Dance of Knives is cutthroat, of course. And we become unstoppable for 3 seconds every 8 seconds. So pretty much always we're unstoppable very often, and we're going to get this movement speed bonus for 4 seconds after we're unstoppable anyway. And this occurs every 8 seconds, so there's only like a 1 second downtime right here. On our crossbow, we have dex, life, vulnerable damage. Crit strike damage is good too. It doesn't really matter if you're using crossbow or a bow. It's not going to really scale your damage so much, so just use whatever has a higher roll of damage. We crafted or tempered chance for Dance of Knives to cast twice, and the aspect we're using here is the synergy aspect. And the reason why we're using that is because we get 100x increased damage on our Dance of Knives whenever we use Smoke Grenade. So the skill rotation is use Smoke Grenade and then hold Dance of Knives and do not let go until Smoke Grenade is back up again. That's the rotation. That's kind of the play style of the build. On our swords here, we're using swords so we could benefit from crit strike damage. We don't benefit from attack speed at all on Dance of Knives. It doesn't seem, so we're not using that. We're using the Star Shards aspect right here for Dance of Knives. We got one, luckily. The bottom portion of the text is now spending combo points. We're not using that because we're not generating combo points with basic skills. We're using Inner Sight instead, which is going to give us increased critical strike chance. We're using the clandestine aspect here for +1 ranks to agility and subterfuge, which gives us a rank to Dance of Knives and Smoke Grenade. Not sure if this is the best one yet. This one we might swap out. This actually might be the first one to swap out, but we'll see. We're using Edgemaster here in the ring, and we're using Stolen Vigor, which we looked at earlier. And on the amulet, we're using Choker of True Sight because we're using the Inner Sight expertise. This is going to give us a lot of critical strike damage, multiplicative, whenever any enemies are marked by Inner Sight. And then when it's full, we just get flat increased damage total. So that's the build right now. We're still level 41. I'm going to do more updates and more playthroughs on my channel. So check out the videos, check out the live streams. We got a good amount of people in the live stream right now. Appreciate all the support, you guys. That's going to be it for this video.